So the New York Knicks trailed tonight by as much as 21 points and ended up beating the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee by 15 points. A 36-point turnaround. The Knicks have been one of the more impressive teams to me this season from what I've seen. Even though they dropped some games against some lesser competition, I really like just the moves that the Knicks have made in the offseason. I think it's made them a more well-rounded team. And, I want to just talk about, this game, what I think of the Knicks and what they can possibly be as the season goes on. A little bit different. We usually do the full, nightly recaps and stuff. I want to test this out. I want to see how it responds to me just talking a little bit about, one game, one, team more so in particular. And I think since the Knicks had the big comeback, this is a good video to focus on them and test it out. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, if you enjoy the content. It's a place where we talk all about NBA basketball, so if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And let's get into it, man. The Knicks, like I mentioned, trailed by as much as 21 points and were able to come back and beat the Bucks in Milwaukee. Milwaukee's still missing Chris Middleton, who is out right now, but they got Jrue Holiday back. They are also missing, Brook Lopez as well. So they're missing some starters from, their core that they're used to having. But they got off to a big lead tonight, and then the Knicks started to turn it around in a game where Evan Fournier really struggled. Kimball Walker only played 15 minutes. We're going to talk about the Kimball Walker, like his management going, as the season goes along. But it's great when you have, Mitchell Robinson did not play his best ball, but it's great that you got guys like Arlen Noel. You have D Rose off the bench. Emmanuel quickly gave you some great minutes off the bench. It's a great fortune to have those guys. A very great fortune. And Julius Randle is still a very, very good player. I mean, he's been a little up and down this season, but when he's been up, he's been really good. And I would just love to see him take this confidence forward like he did last season as well. And it's still very early in the season, but a game like this, I don't want to read too much into a stat line, but he did have 32 on the night, 12 rebounds. Very solid game. It was really the offense for the Knicks early on in the game until D Rose got going, until, quickly gave them some good minutes, until RJ Barrett started hitting shots. Julius Randle's the engine for this team. They are as good as he goes, basically. And it's a good sign to see him have a big game against a very good team in the Milwaukee Bucks who hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball. Great game from him. And Kimball Walker was only 2 for 8, 15 minutes. It's been kind of like that this season for Kemba. He's only playing in spurts, because we know he's not really ever 100%. He hasn't been 100% in quite a while. His knees have been bothering him for the last few years. So that's where it's good. It's a luxury to have not only Derrick Rose, but Emmanuel quickly off the bench as backup guards. D Rose is a starting caliber guard in the league. Still at his age, after everything he's been through, he's still a starting caliber guard. But to have him come off your bench, and he doesn't have to play big minutes, because you're still going to get good minutes, from Kimball Walker most nights. You can get some minutes from Quickly most nights. But D Rose doesn't have to play a whole bunch of minutes. He did play 30 minutes tonight, but we've seen games this season where, like first game of the season, for example, the game went into double OT. He did not play the first overtime, but he played the second overtime. Fresh legs came in, hit some big shots in that period. And he's had games this season where he doesn't have to play big minutes, but he's still very productive in those minutes that he does play. Now, it just reminds me, like in the playoffs, the Knicks, well, first off, the Knicks have solved all of the issues that they had last postseason with moves that they made in the offseason. By getting Kimball Walker, by getting Evan Fournier, and then just guys developing like RJ Barrett's having a very good season this year in my opinion. And not only on the offensive side, he's really stepped it up on the defensive side, which I think is not getting enough credit. And guys like that developing as shot makers it's a good look for this Knicks team, because that's what they struggle with in the postseason. And now D Rose doesn't have to play starter quality minutes most nights like he did in the playoffs, and he was gassed by the end of that series against the Hawks. So that's just a very good sign. And D Rose right now he looks fresh. He looks very good. He looks, like almost like a young D Rose without the hops. Like he's playing very good. Had some possessions where he was completely blown by Jrue Holiday. And nobody does that. Nobody just blows by Jrue Holiday. And D Rose did that multiple times tonight. Very good game from him. And I want to talk about RJ Barrett too, because not a great night offensively, but when he's on the court, this Knicks team is better. He is becoming a very, very, very good wing defender, I would say. I mean, we've seen him have games where he's just clamped up some very elite offensive players. The most notable one was when he clamped up Jason Tatum opening night. Like, I think JT was like 7 for 30 or something on that game, and it was the RJ Barrett effect. He was on an island all night. I think a young player that just does not get enough credit. He doesn't get enough credit. And he's taking steps drastically each season. Like, rookie year, there was just a whole bunch of, slander going his way. I don't think he particularly had a bad rookie season, but he didn't even make an all-rookie team, which is wild. It's wild that he didn't make an all-rookie team. Last season, he stepped up, became, I think, a 17, 18-point per game scorer, 40% three-point shooter. This season, expanding, his game a little bit on the offensive side of the ball and also becoming a very good defender, like a chance to make an all-defensive team. And his scorings went up, rebounding the ball pretty well, playmaking at a decent rate. RJ Barrett's having a good season. I don't think he's being talked about enough. And I don't understand why people, they're not too fond of RJ Barrett. I don't understand why. I'll admit, when he was in college, I didn't really think he was that, like, elite of a talent, honestly. But I didn't think he was a bad basketball player either. But people seem to feel that way for some reason. But having a good season, shooting 40% from deep again so far this year. And his field goal percentage is up, and his points per game are up also, which is a good sign. Scoring and volume going up a little bit, and he's still being efficient with it. So I like what I'm seeing from RJ Barrett this year. And I want to pose the question, like, why isn't this Knicks team talked about more as being a team that can really make some real noise in the playoffs? I don't see really why not. I mean, they gapped up the holes that they might have had last season, which is Julius Randle was the majority of the offense. He was playmaking, he was scoring, he was shot creating, he was doing everything for this team. RJ Barrett, I don't think, even though he could score the ball, I don't think he really had super confidence on a playoff team to be able to consistently create shots, not just for himself but for others. And D Rose can only do it like a certain amount of times because he's just not suited to play 35 minutes a game in big time playoff games and stuff like that, consistently for a whole series. They patched up some of that. Even though Evan Fournier didn't play good tonight, he's still a very good shot creator. He's had big games this season. Kimball Walker, I think when the big games come around, he's going to be able to play more than 15 minutes for sure. And he's seasoned. He'll be able to contribute to winning basketball. I think they may not have got like super flashy players, no superstars or no really all-stars at this point, but they patched up some of the holes. And why can't they be a team that can be looked at to make some noise in the Eastern Conference, especially when the East is so wild right now? I mean, Brooklyn has been struggling. They struggled to beat Detroit. James Harden has not been playing good basketball at all. The Celtics are bad. The Celtics are not a good basketball team. The Bulls are the top of the conference right now. The Knicks have beat the Bulls. Like, the Knicks have shown that they can compete with these teams. Miami does look good. Milwaukee, they're not looking that hot right now. Like, the East looks right now wide open. So why can't the Knicks be a team that can maybe take command? I don't see why not. And the main thing is they defend the hell out of the ball. They defend so well, and it's evident tonight. I mean, they were down 21 points. You don't get back into a game if you don't make stops. Like, you have to make consistent stops, and this is against an elite team in the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though they haven't been playing that good so far this season, we know who Giannis is. Giannis is an MVP caliber player. Jrue Holiday is an all-star caliber player. They may be missing Chris Middleton, but guys like Grayson Allen stepped out of nowhere and were hitting shots out of shots in bunches tonight. Like, guys are able to step up for this team. It's a next man up type mentality, and they were able to weather the storm, come back, and win by double digits on the road in Milwaukee. A game that they could have just thrown in the bag early because they were down big, pretty much from the jump. But that's the resilience of this team. That's a Tom Thibodeau-led team. They are a resilient bunch, and it's good to see how well that they've gelled already when adding new pieces and having young guys come in and having to play bigger roles. I love the Obi Toppin minutes this season. I was a big fan of him going into his rookie year, and we know Julius Randle exploded onto the scene. We knew Julius Randle was already a good player, but they drafted Obi Toppin to, be, probably the next power forward because they didn't really expect Julius Randle to blow up like that, but he did. And so now Obi Toppin's playing that backup role, and I really love the energy that he brings to this team. And you got guys off the bench like Alec Burks who just play so well in that role. Then you got, other vets that, when they do play, they play cool basketball. Like, Taj Gibson didn't even play tonight, but when he plays good basketball. You mentioned Arlen Noel being probably one of the best backup fives in the league. Playing great minutes in this game too. 13 rebounds off the bench is actually wild. That's the Arlen Noel. He could be a starter on a lot of teams, but he plays a pivotal role in this Knicks team. And I don't know why the Knicks aren't really talked about enough, man. Really love this Knicks team and what they did on the defensive side tonight, holding the Bucks to just 40% shooting from the field. 40% shooting from the field. Giannis shooting 7 to 17 is a dub. That is a great, performance if you're going against Giannis. Obviously for Giannis, that's not a good performance, but if you hold Giannis at 7 of 17 shooting, you did your job on the defensive side of the ball. And the Bucks, I think they're going to be fine once they get healthy. But this is about the Knicks. I love what I'm seeing from the Knicks so far this season. And, let me know what y'all think. Why can't the Knicks be a team that is looked at as a contender in the Eastern Conference? Because I think they have a decent amount of the makings to be a team that can make some noise, at least, make a nice playoff run. I don't think this is a first round team this season. I think this is a team that can win a series and potentially win a second series. I think this team is that good. They're going to go as far as, their top guys really take them. If RJ Barrett continues to, grow as a player this season, Julius Randle, settles in, gets back to that All-NBA form consistently, and, you bring Kimball Walker along slowly, D Rose continues to do what he does, you get, great performances from Fournier, growth from Obi Toppin, Arlen Noel, Mitchell Robinson, those guys stay healthy, I think the Knicks can, be a formidable team in the Eastern Conference playoff picture. But let me know what y'all think, because not a lot of people, I think, are as high on the Knicks as maybe I am. But that's why we like to have discussions. So drop your takes in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let me know if y'all like the concept of me talking about one team in particular, because I know sometimes I get to talking a lot, and we talk about 5-6 games at a time, and it's it gets lost in the shuffle. So this is about the Knicks mainly in this video, a little bit of the Bucks talk, but mainly the Knicks. So let me know what y'all think about this format, and if y'all enjoy it, then I'll continue to do so for sure. But I'm gonna try to do the full night recaps as well, probably the next day. But appreciate y'all. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.